Welcome to High Strangeness, where we ask questions and explore all that is strange and unexpected in our reality.
Welcome to High Strangeness. I'm Tony, and this is a place where we talk about all things strange and unexpected in our reality. Today is going to be a conclusion of our Alien Disclosure Files series review, where we talk about some of the things that we've seen in a couple episodes, and then we'll preview just what's the balance of these episodes. And so I'm excited because joining me today is a friend of the show, Ron Mason. Ron, how are you doing, my friend? How are things going?
It's going good. I think we talked a couple times. I'm feeling better. I got a little sick for a little bit there, but I'm feeling better. We had to reschedule both of us had reasons for rescheduling. I'm doing good. Fantastic. Seeing the grandkids this weekend. It's been a very good week.
Exciting.
And raining.
Grandkids.
It's raining too.
And here too. I can hear it. I can see it. Grandkids make everything great, don't they? Just love it. They make me smile.
All they want you to do is tickle them, make them laugh, and hold them and pick them up and listen to every little thing they say.
That's right. Do this, do that.
Yeah. Pick me up. Pick me up.
So how's the winter gone for you so far?
How's the winter?
Yeah,
probably a lot better than where you're at, man. You got snow.
We've had pretty light winter here.
Same here
in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Mountains have it, not so much on the valley floor, but I am ready for it to get warmer. I
am too, but I really like to have seen a lot more rain.
Yeah.
We didn't get nearly as much rain as I was hoping this year.
Are you guys at a point where it's critical over there?
It's always at the point of being critical here. Because we don't trap any rainwater. Very little of it. For decades, we've been hearing. People have been screaming for finding a way to trap some of this rainwater and the snow melt for these lean years that we get. We're a desert, and so. And you can relate to that, but you get a little more snow. But we are a desert here, and we get a lot of lean years. And when we do, water prices go up. You go drive by those levees, and you see that a lot. You can see that one day you're going to go there, and it's going to be a puddle. And that's the water that feeds, everybody in this area, in all of Northern California. So it would be nice. But there's always an excuse. Well, if we do it, no, it's not going to do any good now. Well, yeah, it was, because in 10 years, when it's ready, you'll be good to go. Then you'll be glad you did it. If they would have done that 20 years ago, we'd have had 10 years of good water. So it's just it's a political thing. It's all politics.
And I do think it's crazy. Like here in Utah, we have had a couple good years of water and snow, but usually it's not. And they're like, we've got to conserve, we got to be careful, but they're still building houses like crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, which one is it? Because at some point we're going to run out of water for people. So,
yeah. Got to do something.
Well, they're all the problems on Earth. We're going to tackle problems out there. Alien Disclosure Files, right? For everybody out there, we are talking Alien Disclosure Files. You can get and watch this series on Amazon Prime. There are 13 episodes. Each episode is only 23 minutes long, and we've already covered episode 1, 2, and today we're going to cover 3 and 4 and just preview a little bit of the rest, because there are 13 episodes like we talked about. So this first one, episode number 3, The Black Knight. Sounds cool. The first time we got out into space, and they talk about it in this video, was 1957, Sputnik. The first thing mankind put out in space. But was that the only thing up there? That's the question, right? That's where this episode really takes us. It's asking the question, what was up there? Was there anything up there when we sent that first piece of equipment up there and subsequent pieces of equipment? I want to ask you, Ron, because we're about the same age. Do you remember hearing much about the Black Knight when you were younger? Because I don't remember much more than maybe one or two times.
Yeah, same here. I heard of it, the mention of it. We didn't have the programs, you know, specializing in these topics at length like we do now.
Yeah.
We didn't have as much information about it, but I had heard of it. And I think the photos had come out quite a while back, so
They did.
that
Yeah.
wasn't the first time I'd seen those photos.
But I feel like they went away quick. Like
Hmm.
it wasn't talked about very much. Well, in the episode, you'll remember they kind of go into early stages where Nikolai Tesla actually believed he was picking up strange radio signals from outer orbit outside of the Earth, somewhere out there. Everybody knows who he is. I mean, very intelligent, probably one of our most impressive scientists, right?
Hmm.
But towards the end, he was talking about getting downloads of information from somewhere, somebody else. And, who knows what that is, but he seemed to think it was coming from somewhere out there. I don't know. I kind of feel like the episode was alluding to the fact that maybe it could have been the Black Knight. Did you get that feeling from the episode?
It seemed that was kind of what they were hinting at, that
Yeah.
that's what the evidence was pointing to, the possibility of it being this satellite or whatever it is, uh, that it was coming from possibly that source,
Yeah.
at least some of it.
Right. Then we had the International Space Station, kind of a joint international effort to get something up in space. And one astronaut during a spacewalk actually took a picture of the Black Knight. And so it wasn't just a rumor anymore, right?
And that's the photo we've been seeing, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't there another photo of like a triangular? Is that also supposed to be the Black Knight?
I don't know if that was the Black Knight. From this episode, do you mean?
Yeah, they showed
Or
two
just,
different photos. The one where it looks almost like a seahorse, kind of sits up, kind of,
right.
and then another one at a different angle, is looking down on it, and it looked like it might have been a triangle. And I don't know if
Hmm.
that was. They didn't clarify if that was the same object or not. But I want to say that was they were, because they were talking about the Black Knight when they showed that other photo,
Yeah.
and I'm just wondering if that was a different angle. That's what it looked like from a different angle.
Could be. I'm having trouble remembering people. This is what happens when you have 13 episodes, right?
Yeah.
It starts to all mingle.
No,
And,
I
and
cheated.
get
I
mixed
cheated.
up.
I watched it. I watched it earlier today.
Yeah.
I cheated.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. They spent some time just talking about some of the early people in history. They talked about a professor in 1927, Carl Sturmer, receiving radio waves or something like that. Or he further looked into what Nikolai Tesla was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And there were certain waves of wavelengths and stuff like that he got responses back, apparently.
Yeah.
Then they even talked about a journalist who, at some time later, who looked and found a message in the whatever the signal was that was coming. They kind of think there was a message in there.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what the year was, but they said that for a short time people were like, "Uh-oh, like what is this?" Like everybody was getting pretty excited about this.
1974.
1974.
The
Crazy, man.
Duncan Lunan.
Yes, Duncan Lunan.
Yeah, this professor, what was his name? Stomer, that Norwegian radio engineer who expanded on Tesla's work, said he got this response back.
Yeah.
It's funny, you being from Utah and Skinwalker Ranch, isn't it? It kind of reminds me of kind of some of the stuff that they're experiencing on the ranch. These
Yeah.
signals they keep getting back, and they don't. they're not getting, they're not downloading any message or anything, but they're communicating. They're having communications,
Yeah.
and they can't tell where it's coming from. Uh, I don't know. Like this is very rudimentary equipment that these people were dealing with. Even Nikola Tesla,
Right.
very very early stages of this equipment. So I think there could be a lot of either miscalculations as far as determining where these things
Yeah.
were coming from, or these messages coming, because you got radio, you got microwave, radiation and stuff in space, and it kind of comes back as um, like radio waves, I guess, right? Microwaves,
Right.
radio waves. I don't know what to think of that as far as how
Well, I have a question
serious.
for you.
Yeah,
So in the film, they talk about this, and I was curious how they really even knew this. They talked about the message was decoded, and here's what it said.
yeah.
Remember, it says, "Start here. Our home is Epsilon Bootis, which is a double star. We live on the sixth and seventh planets, coming away from the sun, which is the larger of the two."
Mm.
How'd they get that message?
You know,
Like, how did they decode that, right? Because if that's really true, what in the world, right?
if that's true,
Right.
you have
Big
to,
question.
yeah, yeah, and you have to, you really have to buy into it.
Yeah.
Did anybody else? And that was one of the questions I wrote down when I was going through your notes. Is is there any way to confirm that was that message that was actually what was deciphered, and what method did he use to decipher this message? Um, I don't. If it was sent thousands of years ago, how long ever it would take to get to us.
Right.
How would they know what it would take? What kind of communication, or a level of a level of intelligence, or I mean, if this is what it is, if it came from this star system at all. Uh, so you have to really, you have to have a level of faith in that, I think,
Yeah.
to trust that and to believe that. I just, I know we've seen and dealt with a lot of bad actors, as far as kind of like a paleontologist whose job dig is, his fund is running out, and he's got to hurry up and scramble to find something. So
So he starts putting together different bones. Yeah.
yeah, and I gotta, I'm not saying that's what happened, but I just want to
Well,
say that's
I
possible.
mean, this is a good point, right? Because Ron, so you just watched it recently. I've watched it a couple times, this episode. And in my mind, it still feels like they didn't address the how they deciphered this well enough for me to remember anyway.
No, yeah,
And so I think that's a pretty key piece of information. So those of you watching this on your own, see if you pick up something that we don't remember or didn't pick up. But I don't think, I think that's a pretty important piece of information. How did you decipher this?
and also, who did you collaborate with anybody else to see if they found the same findings?
All right. Right.
So yeah, I mean, usually there's a collaboration of some
Yeah.
kind. 5 scientists went ahead and they found this, and they all came to the same conclusion.
Right.
But it is interesting. No,
It is
nonetheless.
interesting. And if we're going to just play along with the narrative there, they talked about plotted coordinates didn't match today's star map.
Mhm.
So, but they're able to go back in time. Right? They can project what the sky looked like. And so apparently they were able to project the exact positionings to be back to about 13,000 years ago. So
Yeah,
once again, if this and this and this and this and this fall together, this is what you get.
yeah.
So this is what they're saying in the video, and people should watch it and see what they think. So
And maybe maybe that's why one of the questions that come up in this show is that maybe I should save that for the end, because I kind of wanted to address it, but maybe that explains why we didn't get it, why we haven't had a response.
right,
Be-
right,
Maybe it's going to take 13,000 years to get to whoever sent it to us.
Yeah. If they're alive in 13,000 years.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Then, and then 13 more. Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. What else? Let's see. There was a section in the film about major corporate Donald Kehoe, Jacques Vallée. There was a part in the film where, I guess, as a young man, he took a picture. I don't know if it was of the Black Knight or something, but the French government took his pictures away. He was a young man at the time.
Yeah.
And he was saying there's something up there that shouldn't be up there. And the French government took his pictures, said, yeah, we're going to look at that. They took it, never gave it back. You remember that portion of the film?
Yeah,
Didn't spend a lot of time there, but...
Yeah, did they say he used a telescope to take a photo of this? Is that how he took the photo of a...
Right, good point.
Like I said, that was 1960. We hadn't launched any satellites. I mean, well, maybe we had. Wait, when was our first satellite? Sputnik was.
Sputnik was 57.
57.
Yeah, that was Sputnik.
Yeah,
so.
But how about our satellites? Did we?
It was at least in the 60s.
Yeah. So he would have had to have taken it by a satellite. I mean, by a telescope. That's the only possible way. And so it's tough.
Yeah, I wish they'd spend a little more time there. I don't know, maybe
23 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. 23 minutes. I guess they can't cover everything.
Yeah.
They just do enough to get you to think about it and maybe do some more research.
Yeah, let's go ahead and make a 2-hour movie about the entire history of the world.
Right. Well, how about Oumuamua? Right? They spent a little bit of time on that. That was freaky. Like, when you look at Oumuamua, it kind of looks like just a long cigar-shaped meteor. But as I looked more into it, and they covered some of this in the film, it changed speed and trajectory. That's weird. That's weird.
And they didn't say if it was from going around the sun or going around anything, because sometimes things can slingshot going around, a larger mass. They didn't say that. They didn't really go too detail about explaining how it changed speeds or direction.
Right.
But that I remember more. It wasn't that long ago.
No, I feel like it's 4 or 5 years ago.
7. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was pretty fascinating, and I remember it was big news, and I was keeping an eye on that. And it came and went so fast that they really couldn't gather a whole lot of data on it.
No. Well, and I remember questioning the speeding up thing a few years ago, and I looked into it. And, because I thought the same thing, I mean, a lot of things use that trajectory around a planet and they slingshot out. And I thought the same thing. I thought that was it, but apparently not. No. Apparently this picked up speed in a place that it would never pick up speed any other way. So bizarre, but it's come and gone, like you said, and we don't really have a way to check it at this point. So
I wonder, I mean, in the vastness of space, are there, like, how we have like a polar vortex or a wind, is there anything like that out there in space where something can come across a certain place in space where the solar winds are much stronger? Is that a possibility? I don't know. Good these question. Things, but that's something that just kind of made me think about that. We have those elements here on Earth, maybe in space. I don't know, or maybe this thing is a scout.
Yeah,
or a probe.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But these are good questions. Like if we had a scientist on, they're the types of questions we could ask. Cause I mean, it makes you wonder, right? So.
It'd be nice to have that guy with us at times. Sometimes, don't you wish you had that guy? Hey, Charlie, come over here. Why don't you, please answer? I got these questions.
That's right. Well, everybody out there, like us, and subscribe, because maybe in a year or two we will have the show big enough that we can pull in some of these top interviewees and ask those types of questions.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay. The Black Knight satellite disappears, goes away, or self-destructs between 2017 and 2019.
Yeah.
We don't know. Like, there's some views both places. Some people think it's self-destructed. Some people say it took off. We don't really know. But it's gone.
It's just
Of course, right?
no trace, right?
No trace.
As soon as Elon Musk is able to get up there, we better get
Right?
out of here. Let's destroy this thing before it gets too much attention. Or did it self-destruct? Did somebody destroy it? Did it just take off, like they said?
Right. And in this episode, they give you all the possibilities and what some people think happened, but there's no definitive answer there at all.
No, it's an interesting, because there's always that part of me, even being a Christian, that just loves science fiction, and it would be nice, to have some of this to be true, a science fact. The thing is, until they have an alien body, it'll always be speculation. Until we have an alien craft where the whole world can see and it can be proven without a doubt that it's from another world, it's going to be speculation until a replica of this Dark Knight pops. Right? Until these are the things of legend. It's almost like it's.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a legend, until it's not.
Right.
Like Troy, right? For years, Troy was just a story in the Iliad. Nobody thought it was true. They just thought it was, and then all of a sudden, what happened? They dug up Troy. They found evidence of this place. Same thing was in the Bible with Jericho, the walls of Jericho, and you name it. Until it's legend, and then until it's not. So it's going to take some kind of evidence for me to go ahead and put my hat in the ring on this, and I will be cautiously optimistic.
Yeah. Well, Ron, you kind of alluded to this pre-show when we were talking for a minute, but one of the things they mentioned in this episode was, are they not interested in us? Why don't they, or we don't understand why they're not communicating back to us? Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, like when they mentioned the planetary, that when we got this signal and where it supposedly had come from, it didn't line up with what we were seeing in the sky. Yeah. And so then you said, like we were talking, and so they had to go back and reverse engineer the solar system and the cosmos until it lined up till about 13,000 years ago. So obviously, if that message took 13,000 years to get to us, any response from us would take 13,000 years to get to them. So it's it's obvious.
There's no winning there.
There's no winning there. Yeah, you're not going to hear from them for a long time.
Yeah. Unless there's some other means of communication that we're not aware of yet. But yeah, what we can tell, speed of light, still will take a long time.
Yeah. Well, they got the wormhole theories, bending space and time, shortening, that trip, by folding it, and you can just go right through. And so instead of 13,000 years, you can be there in an hour, or instantaneous, or whatever, however it works.
Which reminds me of some of the Native American portal legends and stuff like that. Like, once again, those things need to be true, but who knows?
Legends. Everything's a legend until it's not. Right. Unless somebody was able to witness it as it was happening and write it down with their own hand, and they can pass it on in history. And these are my eyewitness accounts. and we don't have a lot of that in antiquity.
Yeah,
We don't.
for sure.
And so what we do have is important. That somebody was able to write something down that they actually witnessed themselves.
Yeah.
And we just don't have that with this. And,
Well, there you go, everybody. Black Knight. Now, let's talk about episode 4, The Doorway. Since 1964, the U.S. has spent $21 billion on Mars exploration. What? It's a lot of money.
That's a lot
for
of money.
rovers.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. They're looking like they say colonization, right?
That's what they're saying. Well, so we know 3 countries have had soft landings on Mars: U.S., Soviet, China. And apparently water's been discovered. This particular episode mentions and asks the question, could it be a future home for us here on Earth? Or was it in the past? That's what they ask. Was it, did people come from there to here? I don't know.
Well, if you're on board with the ancient astronaut theories, yeah, I think that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
They're going to have to come. I mean, they're like I was just saying, they're going to have to come at me with more, than a doorway.
Yeah. 3 to 6 billion years ago, could life have been in Mars? That's what they said or that's the question they asked in that episode. I do have a question for you, and I don't know if you remember this. They talk about Martian minerals in a meteor, which is cool. How did we get the meteor?
Didn't they? One of the thoughts was that it was struck by an asteroid or some kind of rock or space debris that caused it to be launched from the surface and somehow end up in our backyard.
Something. I left that episode thinking, where did it come from? I mean, what? We don't have things hit another planet and they fly off and land in our planet. So I don't know. Once again, just an opportunity for the episode to make something a little bit clearer. Because when you think about each of these critical bits of information, there's questions. And that's my biggest question is, it's a pretty powerful claim to say that there's minerals that show there could be life or could have been life there, but somehow we got a meteor from there. I don't know.
I think that there's microscopic or organismic life, that's very possible in the planet. Obviously, I think that rock, if it genuinely came from Mars, it proves that there is microscopic organisms, on Mars. I think that could be a real thing. I don't, intelligent life, thinking, conscience, human likeness, caribou, lions. I mean, that's a far stretch from organismic life. But it just shows that there is some form of life, or was some form of life on the planet at some point. They theorized at one point there was an atmosphere and it was stripped away. Something caused the atmosphere to thin, and then radiation just slowly they said, I think the magnetic core or something weakened enough to where then the radiation coming from the solar system or the sun, whatever space, eventually melted away whatever was left of that thin atmosphere, and if there was any kind of life, it was gone at that point, and the waters was pretty much drifted off into space.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a few minutes because you're right. They do talk about that, and there's one theory that addresses that.
Did I get ahead of? Sorry, I got ahead of us.
No, you're good. That's a great preview because we're gonna get people thinking about that, right?
Okay.
That's a question. But I think 1970s there was a Viking mission there, and I know we've had probes land on Mars, And I know they've done some testing there, but still, I still want to know how we got a meteor here and how do we know it's from Mars,
Yeah.
right?
Good
Yeah.
question. Well, do we have rock samples from with the probes that we sent there? We're able to send back any rock samples to match it and say this is the same stuff?
Maybe. Like, I don't really recall them saying that. And I'm not.
Not on the video.
No, and I don't remember. It could be. I mean, scientifically, maybe that's something that's happened, but I don't remember hearing about it.
I think the what we sent out there, the rovers or whatever, it was a one-way trip, right? I don't think
Right.
it was meant to have send anything back. So I
Right.
think I guess that answers my question. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I remember it. So, like, how did it get back here? How do we have, how did we verify that the meteor even was from anywhere? You know, because I would think you'd have to verify it by getting materials back from Mars to say this is like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. People, check it out. Find out. Maybe you'll be able to dig into that.
There's got to be a
and figure
smart
it out.
person out there that can answer that question. You're
Yeah.
right. What's watching this?
Yeah. Well, okay. So in this episode, May 2022, the Curiosity rover on Mars. Clues found, maybe. Cave doors on a Mars hillside. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. Some said maybe it's lava tubes, but that there were right angles that were very clearly not natural, according to the video.
Huh. Interesting. What would well, we've had, remember before all this, I think they talk about it a little bit, the face on Mars.
Right.
What was that from? What was those photos from the 80s, 70s?
I feel like it was the 70s, but I don't know for sure.
And then they went and took photos of the same area again, and it looked nothing like, with better resolution. So they figured it was probably most like sun, the direction of the sun, just happened to cast it just right, and then it looked like. I saw programs where they made a whole city.
Yeah.
Out of that
Yeah.
that photo, pyramids
I know.
here, an altar over here, and temples here, and then the face over here, and so I could see how the mind can play tricks on you that way, and just the excitement over the possibilities, because I know people really want they don't want to be alone. They want to think that we really can go out and there could be a USS Enterprise, and we can go warp speed and go to the vastness of our galaxies, and that would be really exciting.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Until it's now it's Hollywood, but until
they call that para something, which is where you look at something and it looks like something else, but maybe not necessarily, like a cloud that looks like a face and stuff like that.
Yes.
Is it Paragali, something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
But I will tell you this. I don't know if you ever watch, and this to the listeners out there, one of my favorite people to listen to is Jesse Michaels, American Alchemy. Does a great job. And he actually has a video just recently about this very subject, the Mars surface. And he does have great pictures, and he's got some really cool information that really talks about and shows some footage of things that we don't really see very often. So he does a great job with it. People might want to check out his episode on this, the surface of the Mars and stuff.
Can you speak to what he might have shown a little bit? Do you remember?
Yeah,
something?
they were different pictures of some of the structures on Mars, everything from the face to different pyramidal type structures. There was an impact that hit the moon, and on the edge of the impact crater, there was a pyramid right on the edge. And he's like, they were talking about it with somebody, and they said, if that was impacted and that structure was there before the impact, the structure would be gone. The mountain, whatever it is. But it wasn't. And it still sits there. And so there were two types of versions of pictures. There was this picture, and then he was showing this is the picture that's now available. But if you have the originals, you can see the difference. So
Okay.
he does a good job.
You said it was on the moon? One of the moons around circling Mars?
No, sorry, Mars.
Oh, okay,
Mars.
okay.
Yeah, on Mars.
A pyramid, huh? An actual, right next to a crater? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
it's crazy.
very distinct. You mean kind of like the ones that, like we see in like South America or Mexico?
I mean, more like the ones that they believe are under Antarctic, where they use LiDAR to check it now, but you didn't need the LiDAR for Mars.
Yeah.
It actually has that structure with the point and everything.
Okay.
It's pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's worth looking at. Once again, people out there, American Alchemy is the name of that podcast. Yeah. All right. So Mars could have been a lot like the Earth 4 billion years ago. That's what they said.
Wow.
In the video. And we kind of went here a few minutes ago. Evidence of possibly a nuclear explosion on Mars that would have caused problems with everything that would have evaporated the ozone there. I don't know the science behind it, but I felt like even in the 23 minutes, they did cover it enough that people might enjoy that. So,
yeah, I wonder if a nuclear holocaust, because they've tested nuclear weapons in our stratosphere, underground, and even above ground. In the Nevada deserts, and it didn't. Maybe we had a stronger atmosphere than Mars. It didn't evaporate and wipe out but the level, I guess, maybe if it was a completely planetary, wide global event where every single nation just nuked every single nation, what kind of impact would that have on our? Is there any scientists seen anything or heard anything about what that would do would that destroy it, or would it just poison it?
Well, what I heard was it would have happened in a combination of something else also. So I guess apparently they proposed that something went through the solar system that was very big. At the same time, this would have happened, and it pulled off the gravity of it, pulled off the atmosphere, as well as the nuclear explosions and all that stuff. So,
do they think it might have been like Planet X, Nibiru?
Right? I don't know. Maybe.
Is that what they're saying? I mean,
right? Don't they say that thing comes around every 23,000 years or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
7,000, 23,000, something like that. It's many thousands.
Yeah.
1,000 years. It's further back than any history we have recorded.
Yeah.
So
interesting. People will have to watch that, see what they think about that. But they did also in this episode, once again, so much in 23 minutes. They also talk about Paul Hellyer from Canada, retired defense minister, and his claims about a galactic federation.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Haim Eshed from Israel, also a defense space minister for Israel? And he says that there is a galactic federation that the United States and some other countries have an agreement with aliens. Come on, man. I want to know if this is true.
Yeah.
Right? If it's true, let's go. Stop hiding that stuff. Yeah.
But it depends on what kind of agreements they have. Yeah.
That's a good point, right?
They may, let's just go ahead and let's just go down that path and say, okay, let's talk as if this is a real thing, okay?
Yeah.
I'm President Trump, and I get pulled into this room, and there's a federation of Klingons and Borg, and you name it, right? I mean, and they're going to sit down and they're going to tell you this is the agreement we've had all this time, and either you play or you pay,
right?
And you would pretty much anybody coming into that room would have no defense, nothing. How are you going to stand against that? I mean, so if it's a real thing, a galactic federation, we're going to be we're no longer, America is no longer the big guy in the room anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would change everything.
It would change everything.
It would change everything. Well, even just the real admittance that there's a nuts and bolts ship and aliens. You know, when we've talked about this in previous episodes, and we will continue in the future, which is what I believe is some of the difference that's being claimed out there. I think there's probably nuts and bolts ships, but then there's a lot of other stuff with CE5 and other orb, plasma, and other things like that, which could very well just be more demonic, spiritual stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we've had those discussions before, but I mean, really, there's probably room for all of it, but until we get something tangible, it's hard here.
Well, we're going to be we're going to be debating this till the end of time if we don't get it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, come to the surface, whatever truth is out there. Of course, you know where I stand. I think have we ever discussed on the show my theory about the Book of Revelation and what it says about the end times and the Great Delusion? Have we ever talked about that, or should I use that?
We have,
or should that be a different show?
Yeah, let's actually save that and do that. We should tackle that.
That's deep. That's
that's something that you don't want to just gloss over in 5 minutes.
Can I give a teaser?
Tease us, yeah.
I mean, for all the legends that we have, a lot of people like to call some of the stories in the Bible legends, and I guess they are legendary. The parting of the Red Sea and so forth, the Tower of Babel, you name it, Noah's Ark. Now, the accumulation of all things, the Book of Revelation, speaks of the end of all things, the last 7 years, right, leading up to the millennial kingdom and reign of Christ on earth, and then the new heaven and the new earth and the eternal kingdom. Yeah. But before that, we have the 7 years of the Great Tribulation, and during that time, there is going to be a great delusion coming upon the unbelieving world that is going to lead them into the final rebellion of the Antichrist, indwelt by Satan himself, right? And there's going to be what I think is Revelation 15 or 16, where it says there are 3 evil spirits like frogs going out of the Antichrist, the beast, and the false prophet to bring the whole world into this great battle like frogs. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, that's good. Good teaser. Yeah, we should definitely tackle this. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Let's grade these 2 episodes, and then we'll just preview the final few real quickly.
Okay.
Or the final, I guess it's 9. How would you rate these 2? So we have the Black Knight, the Doorway. What were your thoughts on these?
I like the Black Knight, the Dark Knight. Black Knight.
Yeah.
That was different. That was a movie with what's his name in it.
Yeah.
What was his name? That was a funny movie.
I forget his name, but it's a great movie.
Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight I liked a little bit better just because the imagery, the pictures of the actual, what was believed to be this Dark Knight. Nikola Tesla, very, very one of the greatest inventors of his time and scientist. There was a lot of stuff that could be credible there. So I enjoyed that. I would give that about a 3.5, and I would give a 3 probably to episode number 4.
Yeah,
I would just think that was more speculative stuff, and
right. Right. Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. Slightly higher than the other one for number 3. And because I remember as a young person seeing and hearing about the black, what is it called again?
The Dark Knight.
The Dark Knight, yeah, the Black Knight. You know what I mean? So I remember it like being a real thing in the reaction of people and stuff. So that was crazy.
And that was
Oumuamua, yeah. So these were pretty good. Worth watching, I think, don't you think? I mean, once again, different areas for people to dive into this subject and to have plenty of information to then consider what that might mean. So,
all 13 episodes are worth the watch.
Agreed. Yeah. So let's give people a preview on those real quick as we get towards the end of our episode here. Episode number 5 was the final dimension. Time travel, is it possible? Time, is it us returning? Is it somebody else coming through time? And it just dealt with that whole, that topic of time travel and dimensions. Anything else you remember about that?
Do you remember if they were coming from the future or from the past? I don't remember.
I think they were suggesting that they might be coming from the future, that they may be us coming back. Yeah.
And why would we look so much different?
Right. That's the whole principle of evolution. We don't do anything physical anymore, so we lose muscle. We don't need to do anything, but we get a bigger brain. And some suggest, maybe there was some calamity and our eyes changed because we lived underground, all that stuff.
Nuclear war, radiation, lack of this and that. Yeah. Okay. That was the theory. Okay.
Yeah. Now, not necessarily brought up in that episode, but in other places if people want to look at that.
Well, Einstein, obviously Einstein, the math is there for it being possible.
Right.
It's all mathematics, and mathematically, making that math be a reality is another thing. That's kind of hard going forward. I could see somehow maybe rewinding something that's already happened.
Right.
It's hard to think of going forward in time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, people will have to decide, right, what they think about it.
Makes me want to watch it again.
I know. Episode number 6, Ancient Structures. They spend some time talking about crop circles, Stonehenge. Not one of my most excited episodes.
Yeah.
Kind of old information, but a little bit of a newer spin on it. What was your thoughts on ancient structures?
Oh, we got so many of them. We got the pyramids, Stonehenge. Then you got things like the foundation for the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. I mean, the size of these stones. I mean, they were moved. I mean, there's a history of the building especially with the temple. We know who built the temple. So how they did it, I mean, if they can do that, I think they can do these other. I mean, I think human beings back then I think we're even more intelligent than we are. I think we've lost so much because we're so busy and we make things so easy on ourselves. So as smart as we think we are now, I think we were required to be smarter back then. So I think we don't give them enough credit. I think we need to step back and say, you know what? Hats off to you guys.
Yeah.
You guys were better astronomers than we are today. You guys were better builders than we are today. When you did it with much less help.
So, Ron, have you ever heard of the Crystal Castle in Florida?
You talking about the one we talked about before?
Sorry, the Coral Castle.
Yeah, we talked about that guy before. Yeah.
So you wonder, right? Like he said that he knew the secrets for how they were able to move those big blocks and stuff. So
vibration.
Maybe it's a lost art. Yeah. Okay. Episode number 7, War Games. High tech, art tech, UAP tech, lots of different things, and a big dose of David Grush in this episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lots of, this is where we are, right? We're at a place where if these things come out, it changes everything. But right now it's hearsay.
Yeah, and I want to give David Grush. I got to give him a little clap back because well, not a clap back. I give him a little more props because you know what? Last time we talked, he was kind of like, and it painted in a bad light, as if he was just some little lackey who got kind of thrown, fed a lot of bad information, and I think it's coming out that he was actually more credible, and
Yeah.
more, it wasn't him. If anybody it was some bad actors that were trying to deceive him. But I want to say that whatever I might have said about David Grush, I don't remember what I said, but I was like, I knew this guy was being led astray, and maybe he's a little more smarter and more keen than I thought he was. So good for him. Good for him.
Well, and that's what happens, right? As we get more information about people and situations, we can form or change our opinions on those things.
Do you remember anything about the war games, about all this high tech they were talking about, and the UAP tech and our technology?
No, unfortunately, having watched that weeks ago, it's kind of drawn a blank.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we won't talk much more about that.
Yeah. Okay, number 8, UAP hotspots. They talk about Chile, where most sightings actually occur in Chile. Other top spots, Puerto Rico, Japan, Brazil, etc. And they get into some of that. Like, I think it's a good refresher for people that may not be aware of all the locations that these things are seen. So,
yeah, I don't remember much about that one either. Honestly, like you said, it's been weeks since and what we normally do is when we know we're going to tackle something, we'll watch them and we get a refreshing. We weren't able to do that on these, but great show. I mean, war games, everything we don't remember about this. Don't let us not watching this and refreshing ourselves on it, because we got busy lives.
That's right.
And so unless we do a special on this, like we did these last two, it's going to be hard to do that. So, but I think the 47.
It's like you were saying there, Ron. Like none of these we walked away going that was a stinker.
Mm-mm.
Every one of these was worth watching. So
yes, it was.
So, episode 9. This is an interesting area, which I think in the future maybe more breakthroughs will occur. What lies below? Focuses on ocean USOs. What's down there? Do they need like water, these UAPs? Is there some affinity there? And we know that, 5%, 10% of ocean floors have been investigated and not much else. So there's a lot of room there for something to be there. So
we've heard of underwater bases, and like you said, 5% has been explored or mapped even, right?
Right.
It could be anything down there.
Anything. What a perfect place to hide, right?
I wish I could.
Yeah.
Get away from all this madness.
I know, right? Number 10, the paradox. Fermi Paradox, orbs, and UAPs. I don't remember too much else about that. But
I'm going to leave that one alone. I don't remember any of that.
Yeah. Number 11, physical evidence. This one goes back in time and deals with Roswell. Different things like materials that were picked up, like the tinfoil metal materials, the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, biologics, what's being claimed now. Yeah, that's all part of that episode.
Oh, yeah. What was it? Jesse Marceau? That was the guy, right? Roswell?
I think so, yeah.
That poor guy. He made a patsy out of
Frustrating
that
for him.
Oh, he spent his whole life trying to prove he wasn't a lunatic. Yeah, but no, his son swears by it too, that his dad showed him this stuff.
Right.
So he showed him something. As a little boy, he spent his whole life, he knows what his dad showed him, something that he'd never seen since. Yeah. And biologics.
So it's pretty good recap on some of that.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Number 12, Wonders of the Universe. here they spend some time talking about just the vastness of space, distance, travel, how to harness power, what we would need to do to travel in a standard way versus portals, wormholes. And then they talked a little bit about Dyson spheres. Do you remember that? Where they're trying to now look at that and see if there's evidence of that out there in space to maybe point to the fact that there's high-level civilizations out there. So
The Dyson sphere?
yeah, so the Dyson sphere is a structure that they build. A high-level civilization builds a structure around a star, and it harnesses all the power from the star.
Oh, yes. Okay, now I do remember that. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
It's like an extraction machine.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Okay.
And then the last one, episode 13, Close Encounters. And for everybody else out there, episode 64-2, we actually did an episode on all close encounter types. There are 8 of them. Most people are only aware of 4. And in that episode, we break it out and actually go into examples of all 8 of those. So episode 64-2, Close Encounters of every kind. That's one of the High Strangeness episodes out there. But episode 13 of Alien Disclosure Files spends time about close encounters, abductions, physical or astral, disclosure, dismissal, and stigmas around that stuff.
Now, the astral encounter would be more like a C5 kind of thing, right? Is that
Right.
what it is? Is it some kind of through your project?
Well,
Is it-
partially. Like there's the leaving your body. The astral projection is kind of like
Out of body.
your spirit comes out of your body. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a whole different thing, right?
Yeah.
That would scare me a lot because depending on what people believe, when your body's left alone, what else can get in it?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Something might be looking for a host and it's vacant. um,
Yeah.
doesn't DMT kind of give people an out of body kind of? Is that what that stuff does?
I feel like I've heard that.
Yeah. You see
Don't
things,
know.
or you just see things from a whole different. Somebody was telling me the other day that they saw some guy did study done on by DMT and the ability to look into a red laser and see a numerical sequence, and they did a study with like 10 people and they all saw the exact same thing. Did you
I
heard
feel
of
like
that?
I ran partially across something like that recently and didn't capture the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That-
Interesting.
That would be interesting. My face doesn't allow me to take DMT,
Right.
But
Yeah, I
that
definitely
sure
don't
is-
want to. I'm eerie about playing those kinds of games with
Yeah,
your
yeah, yeah.
consciousness,
It's a big
so it's
one.
crazy.
Yeah, I would let somebody else do that research.
Yeah. Yeah, I can enjoy it vicariously through them.
Yeah, live vicarious through their research. You all right, man? No,
Yeah.
I did that.
Well, Alien Disclosure Files, pretty good. I liked it. I think I just saw an orb fly over your head. I'm not sure. I think I did.
Is that happening again? You're gonna have to
Could
look
be.
back.
I'll have to look back at the video later.
Yeah, there was one I thought that looked like it might have been, but the rest I found turned out it was a moth. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's a moth. You can go and eat some of my clothes. Just don't be an
Yeah.
orb.
Well, Ron, thanks again for helping and going through this with us so we could share this with people. People can go back and check out this series. It's really good. Anything else you want to say here as we wrap up?
I just saw it fly by. I think it's a bug.
Okay.
But no, I just enjoy doing these. Sorry, people, if I don't seem as informed on some of these ones we haven't seen in a few weeks. We're just trying to wrap up this thing, but we really want to promote these programs because they are really, and they're free. Go on
Yes.
Amazon Prime. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can watch these for free, and you can binge them, and it wouldn't take you long to binge these. A couple days, and in just a couple hours, you'd be able to watch them all.
And they're worth it. They're so worth it. Like we've talked about many times, the amount of information in such a short episode, it's tough to match anywhere else with the bang for your buck for the time you spend on these.
Oh yeah, get some popcorn. Get your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever or your friends get together. If you got some UFO buffs, sit down and enjoy. You're gonna have a field day with these and a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Well, there we go. We finished off Alien Disclosure Files. It was fun.
Yeah.
Well, okay. As we wrap up, I'm just going to say, everybody out there, remember, there's a lot of strange and unexpected in our reality. So always keep your eyes, ears, and minds open. And until the next time we meet, stay safe.
Thank you for listening to High Strangeness. This was a glance at some of the strange that exists in our reality.